Hey, welcome there to another live stream. This time we're doing a year in review. It's 2023 we're talking about, and all of our feature highlights and everything we've managed to release and everything we've done as a company. I'm going to bring on a couple of people over the course of the next little while. Here's Mario, our Chief Technology Officer. In the background, hey Mario. In the background as well, we've got Amy. Amy leads our marketing team, and she's controlling all the cameras and what you're watching on screen. So thanks, Amy. Mario, welcome.
Yeah, thanks. It's going to be an exciting session, I guess. I hope it's going to have that fireside feeling. We're going to talk about a few things, product and non-product related, I guess. It's nice to talk a little bit about all the aspects, I guess, of 2023.
Yeah.
Right? So.
100%. I can see people joining. I see Rob from Tees River Rescue in the UK saying hello. Hey, Rob. If you are watching this, you can comment in whatever platform you're watching it live on, whether it's X, LinkedIn, Facebook. I think there's a couple of other places at this point. You're welcome to leave comments in whatever platform it is. They come up in front of us and ask us questions. If you've got a question, we love being transparent and answering stuff on the fly. Tell us what you like. Tell us what frustrates you. That's what we're here for.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to do sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was saying it's going to be a much more interesting session if people actually contribute with questions and comments and feedback. So we make it more real.
So before we bring the others on, and we've got both Thierry and GP joining us today. Before we bring them on, we're just going to talk a little bit about the sort of overview of stuff. So from my side, 2023 was a big year of growth for us. It was fantastic. We added a good few team members across the year, and we've seen significant number of new customers coming on board, and lots of customers, particularly a lot of customers adding more products. So people adding the incident management or now Operations Center to what they need, or adding personnel training, or adding equipment management. We've seen a lot of that. We've also seen a huge number of referrals coming in. So thank you very much. If you are referring us, particular interest to us is if you're in a volunteer team and you're referring us up to your workplace. That's a huge thing for us. So a lot of, or most of our customers are professional workplaces, public safety, and private industry. Anything from industrial sites through to businesses, through to retailing, everything that needs incident management, all the way through across public safety. So please do refer us up. That is our core business, and we're delighted to serve everybody under that too. We managed to get our ISO, our International Standards Organization, 27701 Information Security Management Systems. Bit of a mouthful. That was a huge piece. Mario, thanks for your help on that. Mario was key in pulling together some of that documentation. That was led by Jenny, our Chief of Staff, in terms of getting that certification through. So it's a big piece for us. We're fully compliant now, and externally audited to that international standard, which is a big piece. And we brought everyone together on what we call the gathering as well, and that's an annual piece. 2 years ago we did Iceland, and actually the guys we went to visit in Iceland is the town that's currently threatened by the lava flows in Iceland. Thinking of you all, still dealing with that. I think the town's been evacuated. And then this year, 2023, we took everyone to visit the Virgin Islands lifeboats. So Virgin Islands Search and Rescue, and that was some trip. Chartered a couple of yachts, and we did a week sailing with the whole team, all crewmates, as we call it, back in November, around the British Virgin Islands, which was excellent. And we used that trip to get to know each other better. It's also good to add in a little bit of adventure, living in tight quarters. Fantastic opportunity to meet a customer. Yeah. I see David's in as well. David, regular viewer, thanks very much. York Rescue Boat. Good evening in the UK. It's 9 p.m. for you. I think we're hitting, what are we at? 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Pacific. New Zealand, we might get a few of you in. It's 10 a.m. Australia, New South Wales, 8 a.m. So welcome everyone as you come on board. I'm just doing a little bit of an opener here as we're adding people. What happens is we get people kind of ticking into the live stream and joining us. And by the time we get onto the really meaty content of all the features, we're going to have the kind of peak viewership. So we're nearly there. Mario, can you give us an overview of product?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we've got a lot of action in 2023. I mean, with lots of features released. You've seen some of those in the various newsletters, Beamer announcements. But we've got also a lot of action, like in other areas, like a lot of new team members joining, new customers. I would say it was one of the most exciting years for the product team in like so far, probably. And I think a lot of it is down to the fact that we are growing. We are growing as a company. We are growing as a team, and the product itself is growing. And this has brought us a lot of opportunities, and it has also required us to adapt to new challenges, such as the constantly increasing number of users, increasing amount of data that we have to handle, an increasing amount of feature requests from our customers. So I would say we were quite busy in 2023, and I'm very proud of what the team was able to achieve, and definitely looking forward to having an even better 2024. We are positioned actually to actually hit some huge milestones. We'll probably talk a little bit of those about those later on in the stream. But overall, I think it was a fantastic year, and and that reflects actually the overall performance, I think, of D4H in general as well as a company. So
yeah, for sure. Last year, 2023, was in the first years we call now, it kind of feels part of the furniture is our growth plan. And our growth plan is really a document that guides every one of our crewmates, everyone in the company, as to how to make decisions to help us grow. And what it's looking at is where we focus our thinking, where we focus our new functionality, where we want the business to be in a number of years' time. And you'll see a lot of that across the year. You'll see the trend and themes. And even on this call, we might talk about some of it. That growth plan, aligning our features with our vision, is key. And if anyone doesn't know our vision, it's a world where the unnecessary harm caused by emergencies is eliminated, and that's what we're trying to do. Mario, I think we should bring on some of our experts.
yes,
Here's GP. So GP is in Toronto. Hey, GP. GP is a customer experience specialist.
Hey everyone, how's it going?
And we have Thierry too. Thierry is in Pennsylvania, and Thierry is a product operations engineer who you've met before on here. Okay, great stuff. I'm getting a little bit of feedback. I think I can hear somebody's speaker causing feedback. Is anyone else getting that?
yes, I'm getting some echo as well.
Yeah, someone's playing audio out there.
A lot of delay. Yeah.
So let's kick off here. GP, can you tell us a little bit about what you do at D4H?
Absolutely. So some of the streamers or the live audience may have already spoken to me on the help desk. So I basically front end the customer support for all of our customers. And be it a simple question that comes to the help desk, or if it's a training request that is coming in to help you with an advanced feature, I'll be connecting with you and giving you the know-how on how to go about it. And also, especially if this is a feature request that you are looking to have on D4H, that is where I will, touch base with you and get more information about your exact requirement. That way, I can bring your feedback to the product team along with Mario and Robin so that they can go through the requirement in detail and see how best we can accommodate in D4H in the future.
Excellent, GP. Thank you very much. And Thierry, you're in a new role since you were last on the podcast. operations engineer.
Yeah, that's right. When I wasn't on the past, I was focused on TM, on development for TM, which is now headed by Dan, and I am more on the reliability and kind of coordinating between all the teams, automating to help us scale up and ensure that as we add more customers, we can make sure everything works smoothly for everyone.
Awesome. Okay, let's get stuck into this. Amy, maybe we get some questions coming up for the team. Looking back at 2023, which feature release do you believe had the most significant impact on our users and why?
So I think definitely for me, it's the new authentication system. That was a huge release with a huge impact on every product, right? Because let's remember, the new authentication system will connect Team Manager and Operations Center. While in the past we had two different set of credentials, users have to use two different set of credentials. Now with the new authentication system, they only have to use one login for both products, and it supports SAML by default natively. It also supports multi-factor authentication, and it's in general way more secure because it's based on cloud on a very battle-tested cloud service essentially. So I think that's for me number one for 2023. And let's remind people that the old authentication system is going to be shut down at a certain point later at the end of Q1. And you'll get more information about that in the next few days. But the objective is to move everyone to the new authentication system. So we encourage everyone to migrate your account as soon as possible. You only get benefits, and it's very easy to migrate. It's just a couple of clicks, literally. So,
before you answer the question that's come in from Rob, can you explain why two-factor authentication is important?
Sure. Like it adds, as the name says, another layer of security on top of just your simple password, right? Let's say that for any reason, your password gets compromised. If you have the second factor authentication, you are completely secure and safe. If you don't, then your account is going to be compromised as well. And we've seen, we don't recommend it, definitely, but people sometimes reuse their passwords, and that's the worst really case scenario. Their password is used on another system, and that system gets compromised, then their password ends up in the dark web, and some guy with a few dollars would buy the data set containing the user's password, and they would be able to sign into D4H and steal all the data in the account. But if two-factor authentication is enabled, then the password alone will be useless. So, and these are only just a couple of examples. In general, right now it's pretty much the standard. Many other companies have started to make it mandatory. So we really encourage people to enable multi-factor authentication. We know that it adds friction, and unfortunately, like everything security, it's difficult to have a good balance, right, between user experience and security. But multi-factor authentication is definitely one of those things that are worth the effort to actually have. So it's really recommended from us.
And so Rob here is asking, can you add an option to remember a known device for a certain number of days so he doesn't have to authenticate every time?
Yes, absolutely. And is that happening on mobile or on the web? I think that's quite important, because on the web it should work by default. If it doesn't, then we'll have to look into it into more detail.
Very good.
Yeah.
I think, Thierry, when we were talking about this earlier, you were mentioning the sort of documents move to an object storage system or file attachments for people was one of the big pieces for you.
That's right. It's kind of a backend piece that is not immediately obvious, the impact. But in terms of reliability, security, it brings a big improvement in terms of speed as well. And
can you explain what it is, just so people get a feeling of what that means?
Yeah. So in the past, the documents, when they were uploaded, they were basically, if I summarize it, kind of stored on a hard drive, basically, like kind of on the same computer. That's what it looked like. But now we use an object storage service which stores them separately from the application, which improves a lot the way that it's all handled. And by separating it from the rest of the data, it helps us improve the backup policies, for example. So in case of any device failure or anything, it's protected much better. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And
Yes, go on.
I think another advantage is that we don't have limit on how much storage we can have actually from our side. We really there is no upper limit essentially. So if a customer asks us, "Oh, I want to store 10 terabytes of data," that would be possible from our side to do right now. We also increased the I don't know if you mentioned that the size of the files, that single files that can be uploaded.
Yeah, that's true. I think that was a huge improvement that is brought. That previously was 5 megs, which was not that big, but now at the moment it can be up to 1 gig. So really, you can upload videos and much larger pictures, because nowadays some, especially raw pictures, for instance, themselves can be pretty big. So yeah, that the max size of uploads is a huge improvement as well. And it also brought some things like the ability to keep all past revisions of a file. In the past, if you uploaded a revision, we kept the metadata, which kind of give you a history of the file and how it changed. But now we have an optional option, which I think depends on the package, on the subscription that people sign up to, but it's available. You can contact sales about it. Where basically you can also preserve the file itself. And so when you want to look at the history of the file, you no longer have just the description of it that says what changed, but you have all of the past files, which for some cases can be extremely helpful.
GP, for you, what was the most significant impact for our users?
Well, for me, it was the rich text editor. That was one of the most anticipated features in the Operations Center, as well as on the team manager side. Every time I hop on a call with a customer, they ask, when are you guys going to launch rich text? So it has become pretty much the starting dialogue of a conversation. And now that it has been launched, we have been receiving a lot of positive feedback from customers. And if you haven't used it, please by all means go ahead and try it. It's our engineer, especially Mario's team, and also Thierry helped us a lot in terms of getting this up and running. You can do a lot of stuff. For example, starting from the bullet and numbering, and also you can make it bold. You can basically go to town with the rich text editing features we have on the both Operations Center as well as on the team manager. And that is one of the most exciting features that we launched in 2023 for sure.
Awesome. There's some questions in. Dominic, hey, in South Africa, how are you? Question about Cal Topo. or SAR topo, as some people know it, and can give a feature that works with it. So we did a live stream previously with Cal Topo. Thierry was just pointing out that you can watch that back. I can see. Oh, thanks, Amy's posting a link to it. I think where we're at with Cal Topo is we think from our side the integration possibly needs to come from their side. It's kind of the flow is to push things to D4H, such as layers and things like that. So we're totally open to that. Our API is there if anyone wants to build it for Cal Topo. I'm sure you could do something to connect the two. There's an API. If you Google D4H API, you'll see that you can fully insert and control and update data in D4H using the API. So I think that's probably our answer on that at this point. We'd love to see integration as well. From our side, we're not Cal Topo users, so we're not quite sure what you'd like to see built. So trying to understand what you'd like pushed in. You can today export a KML file from Cal Topo and import it into D4H. That works perfectly. But in terms of live viewing, yeah, need some more info. Okay, let's hit the next question up. What is D4H's approach to ensuring user-friendly design and new features? An interesting conversation today about style guides.
Yeah, so for me, it's down to different factors, actually. And I guess then on top of that, we add some secret sauce that we cannot say here, I would say. So it's proprietary information. But I guess it's all about the basic is applying some principles when implementing new features, right? There are different basic principles. For example, the wording has to be very clear. So just to convey the right message to the user. The interface has to be simple and cluttered, as simple as possible. And in general, for me, one of the most important of these factors is making sure that the user is guided towards an experience, towards making a decision, rather than present a list of options, of infinite options to the user. And then at that point, the user has to make a decision. And at that point, that's how things get complicated, let's say. So it's all about applying these principles. And of course, this is just the surface. Then there are other things coming into play, as for example, the customers and the other people in the team. I leave that actually to you to add on this, because it's really a broad question and very, very interesting and important for D4H, because one of our main strengths, it is user friendliness. So we really care about that in everything we do. So.
My bad. Thierry, you had some thoughts on this in terms of balancing technical complexity with user friendliness. Give us your thoughts.
Yeah, one aspect was to keep in mind the range of customers, because we have some people who basically were born with a smartphone in their hand, and so it's very easy for them to get used to any app because they've touched so many through the years, and it just basically comes as second nature. But then on the other hand, we've got people who have decades of experience in the field, but that experience is mostly around paper forms. So we have to keep in mind that broad range, whether it's from people in the healthcare sector, in the aviation sector, in search and rescue, also people who use it every day as opposed to every once a month, for instance. It's quite a broad range. So being intuitive is really something that we keep in mind, and we try to also improve all the time. So getting the feedback from customers of what is maybe a little bit more harder to find that we could improve, or a label that might not be too intuitive. Those are small things that we can always improve. And getting feedback in the support inbox for this or on those live streams, they're really a good opportunity for us to hear from people what they want.
Well, here's one now. So there's a question from David Wilson. This is a good complex one. Is there a plan to take the personnel from Operations Center or Incident Management and import that into Team Manager, incident reporting, personnel training? At the moment, this is to be done manually. Mario, this might be one for you.
Yes. So we feel that pain ourselves, to be honest. Like even when testing the product, it's something that is very obvious. We've introduced this now authentication system, new authentication system, which is actually, you can think that it introduces even a third list of users, right? So yeah, the plan is to actually to join all those personnel lists together. It is, I think, in this year's plan.
It's one of the top four, it's one of the top four priorities for the company. Is right now is the priority is called single platform, and it's around making for you guys as users completely feel like a single platform, even though technically it's lots of complex different technologies working together.
Correct. Yeah. So it is high on our list, and it's gonna come soon. Yeah.
Okay. Matt, we'll get to you in a minute after this. How should customers submit feature requests? GP, that sounds like a good one for you.
Yeah, of course. So as Mario pointed out, we receive tons of requests every single day from customers who are on the field trying to figure out a certain feature, or this could be a feature streamlining according to their perspective to ensure that they get the job done faster. So what we always tell the customers is that we request them to give us a background of their use case. That way, we actually can understand the what you are looking to achieve better, and also a couple of things. Number one, I can also check with the team: is there a workaround to get you there in an efficient manner? If it is not, then it's definitely going to be a feature request where we would log it in our internal systems as a new feature. But of course, the moment you share more information about your request and what you're looking to achieve and the practical issue that you're having, our engineers will have a better understanding on how to overcome it in the future, and also think about the long or rather the wider spectrum of our customers, and to facilitate that feature in the D4H systems.
I want to add something that I think we value a lot at D4H, which is when you submit feature requests, I think we love to hear the actual problem behind it. Because that's what we actually do at D4H is we actually help our customers solve their problems, right? And so knowing what they are actually trying to achieve would help us to shape the feature even better. And so it can be useful not only for one customer, but actually for many customers. And it also will make sure that it solves the problem in the most efficient way, in the best way, in the following every industry standard. So yeah, encourage everyone to give a little bit of context always when submitting new feature requests.
There's a question in about the API theory that you may be able to help with. Thomas Atkinson.
Yep. We actually agree, which is why we are basically doing API v3, which will entirely replace v2. It will improve a ton of the consistency and simplify also some of the workflows. We are actually already using it internally. we still have basically we're aiming to release it publicly when we have feature parity with V2, so that you can entirely drop V2 and start using V3 without missing any pieces. So Mario might be able to be a little bit more narrow in terms of time frame for that, but I know this is for this year.
Yeah, definitely. It is definitely for this year. Yeah, we are aiming to release, well, to invite some beta users as early as Q1 of this year, and so that's going to be another huge milestone. And Thomas, we're actually very interested in knowing what you find difficult in the current API, because that would help us shape the new version. And
I was going to say, why is there a new API at all? Like, describe. I mean, why are we building V3? What's going to be better out of the box in V3?
So in terms of interface, it's going to be more coherent and simplified, much more simplified compared to V2. So I think that's the most immediate aspect that user will be able to see. Behind the scenes, it's a complete rewrite. So we are actually able to support features that the current version of the API does not support. The most important one is a granular permission system, which I know a lot of users are waiting for, but the new version of the API will allow the entire team manager platform to leverage this new system of granular permissions, essentially. Besides the fact that it's based on a very modern technology stack, and so we're going to see improvement also in terms of performance and in terms of developer productivity and quality and reliability. So it's going to be a huge step ahead. So looking forward to it.
And I would add, Amy has shared in the replies there for you, Thomas, about the survey that we've been running kind of continuously about API feedback. The use of that survey is 2 parts or even 3 parts to basically to know what people use it for. Is it for internal applications that they use just for themselves? Is it for apps that they put on the App Store, for instance? And also to know what their pain points are, to make sure that we address these pain points in V3. And we also use that very rarely, but when needed, to share specific information for API users that might not be useful for customers as a whole. So I would encourage you to fill that form, and it will make it much easier for us to track your feedback and to keep you updated of what's happening.
I was just
regarding the
clicking
API
through that actually, Thierry, to look at the responses we've had, and there's some quite interesting stuff. It looks like Python is the most used language for people to build integrations with. That's what they're building in, and I think it was like 95% of people were building internal apps rather than public ones.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And we do have some of them actually that are in GitHub, which is interesting when people can share them. And then other customers can also benefit from it, especially if it's something from sometimes search and rescue teams that are not for profit. So it's pretty easier a little bit to share the result of their work for that.
GP, we get all these features in, and you were talking earlier about how people can sort of request a feature. When they come in, what do you do with them?
Absolutely. So as I mentioned earlier, we get quite a number of feature requests coming in almost every customer every single day. It on the back end, what we do is we definitely record them in our internal systems. But when it comes to prioritizing, our product team or the engineering team looks at major things such as whether this feature is going to facilitate wider range of customers, or whether this is actually fixing a niche uh, experience that customer is having. So that's the tough question that the product engineering team gets asked. If it's a very niche uh, request, it is most likely going to be less prioritized. But it doesn't mean that it's never going to be appeared on D4H. But it is definitely going to be looked at as more customers come in with this exact same request. So do not get discouraged when you make a request, just because we cannot accommodate it right now in Q1, Q2, etc. But we have a very transparent and product team actually listens to us, and we in fact meet with them every single week. We share the new features that we receive from customers, and they go through them and they see how best they can accommodate in their existing roadmaps.
And I would,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, I was just gonna add that for those niche requests, it's one case where when you have the capability that you can use the API to extend and add that capability that we might judge is too niche and will not get broad use for all the customers, but with the API, either now with what it is or with V3, which will also cover a lot more of the features of the product. The API is basically there to let you extend and add capabilities that you might need.
So GP does a great post on our internal system. If anyone's familiar with Basecamp, that's what we use internally to talk. And we've got different teams or projects set up on that for the customers team, for the product team, for each of our subsystems. And GP collates up all of the feature requests that have come in every 7 days. He posts, is it a Friday, GP? I think I see it on, or Thursday or Friday. Everything from the
Friday.
week. Yeah, everything from the week goes out every week. And so do know that when you do ask for a feature, it is read by everybody. We all read them. At that point on the Friday for that week's set of features, we set them. There's a couple of lenses we look at them through. One, the primary piece is our growth plan. So any features that match our growth plan, they get a little bit higher rating because that's the direction we're going. And anything very niche that we think isn't going to cause large customer impact across a lot of customers gets slightly lower priority. It's just how it works. It's still in there though. They get rated must have, should have, could have, and won't have, and largely then they get filed into our tracking system. And every time we do a design, so Mario and myself might sit down and we're saying, let's look at, we've got this must have around, I'll pick qualification tracking, and we keyword search this large database. I bet Thierry can give me a number of issues. How many issues do you reckon, Thierry, in that?
I know for team manager we're in the 8,000 something range.
8,000 feature ideas. Incomplete.
8,000 tasks. Open one.
What I mean.
Yeah, which includes I would say a lot of them are feature or enhancements.
Yeah. So it's a huge volume. And so what we'll do is we'll keyword search that, all these ideas, and they might be from 4 years ago. And we go, that's a really good one. So we're building this, we're rebuilding, at the moment, we're rebuilding inspections, right, the equipment management. And we'd be looking at what can we get in there? What are the pieces we can get in there of other people's ideas?
At the moment, team manager is about in the 2,000 range. And yeah, okay. a bunch of them might be like 2,000 in the 2,000 range for those that are open that have not been completed yet. So that means that about 6,000 have been completed. Yeah,
that's which is good.
Yeah, and yeah, sometimes there's some that we might mark as won't do, or that might be a lower priority. And as more feedback comes in with more use cases for it, and or just more different customers, different types that we're like, oh, actually we reconsider that, and we might upgrade it from won't have or could have to a must have on occasion. And that's definitely happened. So it's worth, if you're thinking something, let us know, because if one person suggests it and they're the only ones, chances are it might be pretty low. But the more use cases and the more different customers bring it up, the more attention it's going to get.
Excellent. Keep these questions coming. They're queuing up now. We've lots of questions to answer, which is great, and we're gonna keep working through them. We will get to all of them. GP, examples of how customer feedback directly influence the development of a feature.
Yeah, for sure. So we had one law enforcement customer. They've been asking for a feature quite some time, and we had to go back and forth on that. This specific feature is actually the one that we launch as a canine handlers, and also how to go about their qualifications. So what we did was is that we wanted to get more information about this exact feature and how they were looking to accommodate this feature within our team manager product. So we sat with them multiple times just to understand the requests and also see how best we could accommodate it. And by towards end of last year, we were able to introduce that feature in the team manager product. And along with them, there were there were a larger number of customers who were actually able to benefit from that feature, not only from the law enforcement, but also from customers who have a canine as a unit. This could be a search and rescue team, or even could be a corporate customer who is having a canine unit to handle their information within D4H. So that was one of the great use case that I could think of, where customers directly influence the decision-making process, and as a result, we were able to deliver them a better product to them.
Yeah, for sure. I think those guys you're talking about were in Australia, if I think it's who you're talking about. And I mean, it's a good example there. I think the software in 36, 37, someone will probably correct me and tell me it's more now countries. It's really global. And these things they're very international requests. Great. Mario, I interrupted you.
Yeah, I was saying for me is an example of such a feature is the ability to sign forms, sections of a form independently, right? In the past, that I remember we introduced this feature, signing forms, I think a couple of years ago or the last year, 2022, I can't remember. But I remember that immediately one of the first feedbacks we received was, I need multiple signatures on this form. And if I add one, then I cannot modify the form anymore. So, and that was something we realized immediately. Oh, all right. So then people use this particular workflow. There are a lot of people using this particular workflow, like where different sections are owned by different people. And that what actually drove us to implement this feature, which actually allow users to sign only one section of a form without locking the entire form. And I think a lot of users were happy about these features being released in 2023.
Excellent. Let's talk a little bit about 2024, shall we? There's lots of pieces coming in here. I think let's cover off some of the questions first. Matt, Amy was asking there a little more info, if you can, on what you'd like to see from call-out responses. Same from Duncan in Cumbria, North Cumbria Search and Rescue. Just a little bit more info, what you're thinking. Let's start on some of the bits we do know. Waiting for GPS mapping to be added before upgrading to incident management.
That's in 2024. This is I can see it in the plan for this year. However, I think it's towards the bottom at the moment in terms of priority. But we hear you. This is one clear example where a feature is receiving such a large interest that it actually made it into our growth plan. And I think it's there mainly because of you guys asking us to implement that feature. And we'll get there. We just, as we said before, it's all a matter of prioritizing things. And as we talk a little bit of what's ahead of us in 2024, yeah, believe us when we say, that there is a lot in store for, next year. And so it's going to be really interesting.
What's been quite interesting is we've been tracking these features for a long time, and GPS tracking has gone from what we class as a delighter feature. So a delighter feature is something that people will buy the product just for this feature. It stands out in the market. It's becoming a must-have, which is just that everyone's going to have it. It's as smartphones just become more and more prevalent as the way. I mean, before, I think when we started experimenting with it, we even had little Bluetooth GPS trackers because the battery on the smartphone had run down, and there's lots of things. And now just the world's changed completely on that. So I think it's a definite, we're going to support it. Duncan saying, we currently have 2 physical ID cards. One stays with the member and the other goes onto the ops board so we know who is there. It's collected when they leave. We'd like this digitally. So this sounds like for people in North America, I think this is called T cards, might be the right terminology. And they're little cards on a board, and as people arrive in, they might give their badge or their ID to the command post, and it gets slotted into a little card that gets moved around into teams. So they actually organize the teams with the person's photo from the card as something we can see. It's a little bit, for everyone on the call, a bit like what's the board I'm trying to think of? Board with columns on it.
Stop score.
Nope. Like in a project management tool.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of the word. I should know the word straight off. Like a project in GitHub when you have your multiple columns.
Kanban board.
Kanban board. That's what I was looking for. So it's a little bit like a Kanban board of teams, if you want to think of it that way. And so what they're doing is they're taking their card and putting it in slots to say which team the person's on, and the person hasn't gone home or hasn't gone home with their card still in the board. How do we do that digitally? Command board. Matt's correcting me. Sounds like you'd be scanning a QR code from the app to say you're here. You do the same on the way out. It's a funny proposition because kind of mixing very analog and very digital things. The benefit of the ID card is you won't go home without it.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting one. You can do in incident management. You can add a column beside everybody's name with a check-in date and time. And as they arrive, you can click the column to timestamp it. And you can have a checkout column. So you can do checking in and checking out like that to see who's there. That's possible. Accountability boards is another one, Feral Bob. So what they call it. So yeah, it sounds like it's an interesting problem to solve.
Mm-hmm.
And how it's done simply is probably key. We have looked at RFID chips, and they can be scanned by the personal training app already. We've already done checking equipment out on a scene, so it's probably all somewhere in the mix of these pieces of where it sits.
Yeah, this is something that intersects a bit between incident management and personal training, because personal training and incident reporting is where we track attendance and who's on scene that way. And that's where we track equipment usage as well. But then kind of the real-time piece is incident management. So this is a way where this is a feature where we need to really find the right intersection between the two.
I've heard a lot of requests for, people want to have an iPad on the table or a tablet on the table, and people can come in and sign in when they arrive at some event that's in the system, and it automatically adds them to the attendance. I've heard versions of that where they want to print out a QR code or put a QR code on a projector and have people come in and use the app and scan to check in. I'm still undecided on what's actually just overkill. Trying to really picture what the least possible friction thing is versus like a roll call or something being taken.
I think it depends a lot on. I think it depends a lot on whether people want it to be easy, if they want it to be a bit more trustworthy, like as to prove that the person is actually there versus just tracking people's self-declared status.
Yeah.
Because if we want to prove the person is actually there in a more of an accountability participation way, then you want to take into account like the location, but then that gets very complicated and that adds some friction. And also it pretty requires internet. So at the moment, really we let people print the attendance sheet from personal training, which is an easy, low-tech way to do it and to cross-reference between the two.
I always think, Thierry, to use your term of bike shedding, this is one of these bike shedding problems where the actual problem you're solving is to rescue or find a missing person. And yet we can spend hours talking about optimum check-in systems for people arriving because it's a cool problem to solve. Like feels like it should be cool. You can scan something and automatically check people in. I get the need, but it's one of those things I always find it doesn't solve the end. It doesn't help reduce the harm caused by emergencies necessarily. I mean, it might make the response maybe slightly quicker, but solved by one person on a clipboard as well. It's a funny one. Okay. Let's see what else we have there. Okay, Matt's asking about call out response, and this is interesting. So the team has no ability to report back regarding if they're responding or delayed. We have found that it usually requires a call in. So we do have end of Q1. It's still really only been spoken about internally, an alerting product coming out. End of Q1, it's going out to beta with a couple of customers with SMS and voice calling. Quickly added after that will be other channels, critical alerts and other things. We think it's going to be really a massive success amongst our customers. We get a lot of requests for it. And as part of that, it will have the ability to answer your status. So there'll be customizable statuses, whether it's just acknowledge or whether it's I'm coming, I'm unsure, not coming, whatever you want to set up as options. And you'll be able to template all those and sort of single click or from your phone initiate a call out. So that is coming, and we know a lot of people will be excited about it. Mario, can you talk any more about that and even how it's progressing?
Yeah, so that first of all, I want to point out that that's going to be a completely new product that we are adding to our suite of products. And it's going to be tightly integrated with the new Operations Center platform. But of course, it's going to be available also in Team Manager. And at the moment, we're pretty good positioned to release it at the end of Q1, at least in the beta version, let's say. And as you said, we are super excited, even from our side of the product team, because this is going to add, it doesn't happen often that we add a completely new product to our suite of products. And so there's also of technical excitement from the team, or of starting a greenfield project, something completely new. And and we're doing our best actually to make it a complete success. And success in this case starts from the requirement, like for a product, making sure that it has the right product market fit. And I think, Robin has done a great job on that side of things. He has spoken with a lot of customers, collecting their the problems and their use cases. And I think we have a quite solid proposition there that we are implementing. So stay tuned.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great for users of Team Manager. At some point, and there's not any deadline on this at all, but at some point we do see it replacing the communications module. So if you're sending text out at the moment using Twilio or something like that through D4H, we do see this as an integrated solution where you can, when you hit that little send message button, it'll open up this alerting product instead. And we also see it supporting not just call outs, but also standbys, warnings, and informational messages, system tests or pager tests, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, there's a lot put into that, and we think it's going to be a really big hit. Actually, you'll be able to purchase it standalone or integrated. Sorry, Thierry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I'm excited for it for all the reasons that Mario just said, but also because my own SAR team uses D4H. So I'm looking forward to also be using that and having all the things a little bit more integrated, which is adds an interesting perspective when like we build the product, but we also use it. So it's another perspective where like the distance between the customer and the product is much smaller when we can overlap like this.
How do you do call outs at the moment, Thierry?
Right now we have another app that has its own paid subscription, and it does have those options like where we can say I'm on the way or I'm not attending and stuff like that. So it's another subscription that for SAR team every subscription that you add, they all add up in cost. So
yeah,
having the integration in D4H is going to be much easier to manage in terms of like the personal list, the incident
you didn't
list
say it
also.
was included.
No, but still having the integration is going to be just a time saver because
yeah,
as volunteers, you're not paid for the time you put into it. So anything that saves time and effort.
Absolutely.
Really nice.
No, I'm only joking on that. 100%. I think it'd be good. And actually, I think I know the app you're using, and people will find that this is a much more simplified version. A huge number of the apps in the field are built for volunteer firefighters. US-based volunteer firefighters are a lot of the apps, and a lot of the terminology and things in them are specially designed for that. So I think that's going to be a big piece. Okay, excellent. What's left? Amy, do you want to hit us up with any other questions? We have 2 minutes. Is it possible to add and remove columns in equipment?
Yes, for some. Currently, I think it's barcode, and there's some others like off the top of my head that you can turn on and off. We've been discussing of making all of the list a lot more customizable, but that's kind of going to need a big overhaul of like the interface, which we've been discussing about for a while. But actually, we made that's another thing that we did last year for Team Manager, where we've kind of started to introduce new technology in a very discrete way. It's not super effective, but from a development perspective, it's going to make it a lot easier to do that kind of swaps, to add more flexible tables, and that's one of those things that I expect will be coming.
Yeah, brilliant. There's a couple of other big Team Manager features coming. GP's been repping Team Manager in every meeting, saying those guys need more inspection steps. Mario, do you want to give a quick 30 seconds on?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're gonna release this new feature pretty soon. Actually, it's already at the last phases of development, and we'll try to release it step by step, initially certain customers. Anyway, the feature is about having the ability to check the different steps of any inspections individually, essentially. So at the moment, we have just a description for any inspection, but in the future, we will be able to check each step individually. So check it if it passes, if it fails, or if it doesn't apply to that particular, let's say, piece of equipment. We'll also reduce the number of inspection statuses, outcomes, let's say, for the inspection to 5, I think, that are at the moment, to only 2. So just fail or pass. And that will simplify a lot of things, especially for the end user who's gonna actually execute the inspection physically. It's gonna be so much easier to do it, especially when done on mobile. So stay tuned for that. If you have any feedback to give us in relation to that particular feature, let us know. As I said, we are just about to release it.
Awesome. The other one that a lot of people are going to like is the ability to upload a qualification, a new certificate you get through the mobile app, take a photo of it. It'll sit in some sort of inbox pending status for an admin effectively to go in and approve the certificate and add it to people's profiles. So I think that's a big piece with a lot of asking. Well, I'm going to say thank you to everyone for your feedback. This has been a brilliant session. It's awesome to get so many people on. Thank you to Mario, GP, and Thierry for joining on the live stream. We really appreciate it. It's great that everyone gets to meet a couple of the faces and just me on YouTube all the time. And I'm going to thank the guys from myself. Look at the amount of work they output last year in 2023. You can see on screen there the range of features and functionality that was delivered to production, which is a big ask. Thanks to everyone. Thanks for your support. Thanks for innovating, and we're here to support you and your operational needs in 2024. See you all later.
Bye, everyone.